Well, hello. Welcome to another edition of Chit Chat Corner with Cat and
Hi,
Grizzly on
everybody.
the Hunt. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Nor. How you doing, Nor? Yolanda. Hopefully, everybody's doing good. Welcome, Crazy Chi. I love that name.
Yeah,
Try
me
to say
too.
that 300 times fast.
So cute.
D-Warm. Yes. Thank you, Yolanda. Nor.
Hi,
So, how's
everyone.
everybody doing, Rebecca? Roger Blair coming up. Kimmy. And then we got Crazy Witch coming in the rear, like always, around the corner. So, what do we got going on this evening there, Cat?
Well, this
And B
evening,
Man? Welcome,
hi,
everybody.
man. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Johnson Joshua, who is Danny's brother. He has written a new book. Danny is our boomerang whiz from India. He does a lot of training and promoting, and he's just incredible. We have some footage that we're going to present for how to make boomerangs, but we're having a bit of technical difficulties.
Yeah,
So
right. Gotta
we'll
love
fix
technology.
yeah. So we'll fix that up later. And I'd like to introduce Bryony Chattel. He was my grandfather, Frank Donnellan's shadow growing up. He knows everything there is to know about booms, aerodynamics, all of that sort of stuff. And at the end of the video, if we can load it, there'll be a list of all the recommended boomerang makers and throwers so that everybody can
Awesome.
purchase, from reputable makers. So
Awesome.
I hope everybody's doing well.
Well, let's bring them on. Welcome to the show there, kind sir. How you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Well, nice to have you. So introduce yourself to everybody in the world. We are worldwide right now.
Yeah.
It's very comforting.
So how long you been in the boomerang business?
Ever since I grew up at about 7 or 8 years old.
Wow. That's crazy.
I happened to have the best person helping me, my Frank Donnellan, and his family have always given me the best chance possible to promote the boomerang and have fun.
Well, that's good. That's good.
And Bryony's done a lot of, no, I wouldn't call it work, but training with people in wheelchairs so that they can play
That's
too.
right.
With the boomerangs, a lot of help done with people with lesser abilities so that everyone can join in, and so it's a sport for everybody, any form of ability or lack of.
Well,
A lot of times I've enjoyed showing people how simple a boomerang is, but its potential for rehabilitation was what we really enjoyed seeing work.
Yeah, it's amazing what how happy a person can become just by belonging, getting out there with other people and sharing how they feel, and with the boomerangs and the wheelchairs, it's such a great way to make a lot of people happy.
Yep.
That don't usually get out or don't get the chance to belong in a situation like that.
I've enjoyed the pleasure of having made friends of family and individuals, and I'm very grateful that today, for example, enjoying another way of expressing the good that comes from boomerangs.
True. There's so many good aspects. Just fresh air for a start. And grounding, the whole spirit of bringing everything back to one, really.
And I must, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, on the basis of my training, when I was in Qantas originally, I had a lot of instructors for aerodynamics, and that assisted me improving the boomerangs for certain weather conditions.
Sorry, I've just got to send Danny a message. I won't be a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Man. So Gary just jumped on. There's Gary.
Uh-huh.
There's Gary.
Hi.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Sorry,
Hey
guys.
Grace.
Good, thank you.
Good to see you. Hey Kathy, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Great.
May I
Good to hear.
introduce Bryony to you?
And I'm sorry, what's the name?
Bryony, this is Bryony Chappelle.
Oh,
we got it.
Hey, how are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Super.
We got a lot of echo on your end, Gary.
On my end?
Yeah.
I wonder why that is. I don't know if that's something I can adjust, or is it because of the room I'm in, maybe, or?
No, it's like we got an extra app open.
Huh. Oh, maybe. Let me take a look and see if there's something. Maybe I hit something.
Bryony,
There we go.
Gary has still echoing.
Is that better?
I don't know.
Testing.
No.
Yeah.
Testing. Attention, Kmart shoppers. And now number 3, we have our blue light special. Yes, and if we act now, we'll throw in a handy dandy can over slices, dice, and chops, leave it on your taxes. But wait, that's not all. Pizza first on your block to have the Swan Neck Peak Nose Kylie for those people that really bother you in your life, you know? I'm
Gary.
sorry, excuse me.
We're still echoing.
Now, if I mute him, we don't echo. So it's like you got you got YouTube open or a Facebook open or another live open.
Let me take a look here again. I'm gonna see. How about if I try close all and I'll reconnect?
Okay.
Is that okay? Yeah, let's try that. Okay.
Maybe
Bryony,
that'll help. Yeah, it was terrible echo.
That's better. Bryony, Gary has a massive collection. He's probably got one of the biggest collections in the world of boomerangs. Extremely gifted. He'll be back.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself there, sir.
The best way I can describe the boomerang's gift to me was that I had so many supportive people encourage me all the time, and when people used to say thank you for whatever I've done, the demonstration or something, or teaching one child how to throw a boomerang, the pleasure that brought me, and continues to bring me, is that I'm making someone else's life a bit more enriched.
Right. No, absolutely. You know. All right, let's try Gary again here.
Okay.
Let's see if that.
We have to make him behave. Hey, you back?
Yes, you better make me behave. Good luck, Kathy.
Now it's working. Now it's perfect.
Very good.
Good.
Excellent.
All right. Good to hear.
Yes. You're not echoing.
Yeah, so everybody's doing well. It's very hot here in Florida. I want to let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little bit hot. In Fahrenheit, I think we got to 94, 95 today, and a feel-like temperature of about 110. So
it's terrible.
What's that? 40 degrees Celsius, something like that.
Combusting, almost combusting.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate that we hear so much bad news with the fires in America the last couple of days, and I'm sure I speak for many people that we wish our only way is to wish everyone safety while they're still just controlling the last bit of the fire.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I was up in Ohio doing some boomerang presentations. I flew up there, and we had the Canadian wildfires, a lot of the smoke down through Ohio, as the jet stream picked it up and brought it down. And it's been a pretty tough summer up there from what I understand.
Terrible. Everywhere on the northern hemisphere. It's like you're copping what we copped a couple of years back.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking you're going to get a lot of rain, like flash flooding, like we got.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it came when we've got 2 blue moons at the moment that we're in the middle of. And
we're right in the middle.
There's a whole lot of action going on with volcanoes, earthquakes, and all this new 8th of the 8th energy. It's full on. Like I'm expecting you get a lot of rain coming. I hope you don't, but.
Well, we're in hurricane season here, and that goes until the end of November. And I haven't really paid attention to see if there's anything out there that's threatening. Now, the nice thing about St. Petersburg, Florida, is it has its own weather system. Really, guys. I mean, we're between the Gulf of Mexico and the Tampa Bay. So our temperature never gets above 93 degrees, and that's what I've always said. But it actually got to 94, and for a little bit it got to 95. I think it was yesterday or the day before at 2 o'clock, which is unheard of because they've been keeping track of the weather for that long. And the last hurricane to touch here was in 1921. So we've had the edge of Hurricane Irma. I experienced Hurricane Irma 5 years ago or something, and then also last year Hurricane Ian. I actually flew home from Ohio. I'd flown up there to do presentations. Then they said all the spaghetti noodles showed it was coming into the Bradenton, Tampa, St. Pete area. So I jumped on a plane that night, came right back here. I have an elderly gentleman I take care of, and he's got to evacuate from the evacuation A area, which is a big flood zone. So I got him here to the house and all that stuff, but nothing ever happened. I really didn't have to come back. It missed us completely.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. But just so you know, I mean, yeah, and remember, the warmer the temperature means the faster the air molecules, the more energy is in the air. So the more energy in the air, we're going to have stronger storms. Okay? A hurricane, which is fed by all of that humid, warm air in the Atlantic, is just getting that much more, which means those category 3, 4s, and 5s will come a lot more frequent.
Yeah, it's erratic. Like the weather we had after the fires was erratic and dramatic, like hard and fast. No one was ready for it. Like we all wanted rain. Everyone's praying for rain, but they didn't pray carefully enough, like in their wishes. Like gently rain, great spirits, not buckets. So. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Bryony has booms.
Yeah, Brian, I see some boomerangs behind you.
Yes, that's right. Yes. The few that I've just managed to fit in the viewing part of the screen, I've got some of the Frank Donnellan original plastics and several other the wooden ones that have come from various makers over the years. But I've got enough boomerangs to suit any weather condition, I can guarantee you.
Oh, wonderful. Ryan, I think you could test me, and you could take any boomerang in your collection and you could show it to me. I could tell you who the maker was, what it's made from, how it'll fly, and
very good.
And he's gone. And he's back. So what happened? Are we testing your magic there, Gary?
Oh, we must be. I don't know what happened there. All of a sudden you're there and not. I don't know. We got a bad connection. When they cut me off.
Brian's done a lot of aerodynamics like you have, Gary.
Oh, wonderful.
He worked with Qantas for a long, long time, and Brian was Poppy's offsider, like shadow as Poppy was growing, like as they were both growing up, I guess. So.
Yes.
And Brian, where are you located at?
Hi, Johnson. Beg your pardon, Gary? Ooh.
Johnson, you there?
Hi, guys.
Hi, Johnson.
Am I audible?
Yep.
Oh yeah, you're live. Welcome to the
Perfect.
show.
Hey there, my man Grizzly. How you been?
Doing good, doing good.
Hey,
Nice
good
to
to
see
see
you
you,
again.
Johnson.
Gary there, Catherine there. Nice to see you guys too.
You
Good
too.
to see
Thank you,
you.
Welcome
Catherine, for
aboard
inviting
again.
me.
Would you like to introduce your book now, and then we can chit chat about the booms after your book?
I'm so sorry I couldn't hear you properly, Catherine.
Oh,
I guess
would
there
you
is some
like to
glitch in
present
network or
your new
something.
book? Can you hear now?
Can I join again? I
Yeah.
can't hear you guys.
Oh, have you
She
got your
wants to
mute
know,
on?
Let
do
me
you want to
rejoin. Let
present?
me join again.
Okay.
Just give me a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody's playing Houdini on us right now.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
It's one
really
of those
strange.
days.
I know.
Hey,
Okay, here's Sunil. Let's see.
And-
He's muted, isn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't have a picture or his thing's muted too. So
yeah, Sunil's a great guy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and but Brian, I wanted to find out now, where are you located at in Australia? Are you in the Sydney area, Melbourne?
Yes, Sydney, about half an hour's drive from the airport.
Okay, so
Very close.
I think I visited you. Didn't I visit with you back in the late 90s and early 2000s? I was in Australia in 96, 97, 2000. I was with Robbie Crawl.
Yes, I remember the circumstances, but that was one of our public demonstration shows, maybe.
Yep. We had done a number of presentations while we were in Sydney and Melbourne, and of course Robbie and I hit every antique shop and
Yes.
and underground for the ancient Aboriginal pieces.
Yes, understood. Yeah.
Yeah. How many Aboriginal pieces do you have? Yeah.
I've excuse my cough.
Yeah.
I've only got a few compared to like what you know about, but we had several good tandem displays with our Indigenous people as well.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. And did you ever get to work in the wind tunnels at all, and maybe strap one of the Kylies or a return boomerang in a wind tunnel to check out the airfoils from something in the 18th century?
Absolutely. We were able to use some of the equipment at Qantas quietly with our supervisors to show how much the aerofoil has a life of its own with wind.
Doesn't it? Oh, yes. And did you notice, like Rusty Harding, the retired aerospace engineer here in America, I brought him to Australia in 2000 at the World Championships in Melbourne. And
Yes.
yeah, and you remember Rusty used to say, semi-crude airfoils are the best airfoil for a boomerang, right? And you notice that when you put it in the wind tunnel. And here the Aborigines were fluting the surface of their Kylies and their return boomerangs, which made them fly so much better and more stable, and behave the way they want them to,
Yes.
And then Duncan McLennan there in King's Cross, Sydney, he was such a good friend, and he's like, on the hunting sticks, on the throw sticks, the Kylies, the Central Desert ones would have a twist on the negative on the dingle arm, the follow arm, and have negative angle of incidence. And I'd say, well, you know why they did this? And I'd start explaining the science, and he'd say, oh, Gary, come on, it warped that way, mate. No worries. And I'd say, oh, really? You got 75 of them here, and they all warp the same way, huh? And stuff. But there's actually a major reason why to each and everything that the Aborigines did, and for them to have controlled flight, a minimum of 15,000 years before the Wright brothers flew the first airplane. It's amazing. It's so incredible, Brian. It gets me. Yeah, I get a little crazy. I'm passionate about it.
I can understand that. Yes, I'm not sure if you can see this boomerang I'm showing. Can you see an image on your screen?
I sure can. Let's see.
We're gonna make them big here. There we go.
Yeah, these these aerofoils, I've always spoken about aerofoils with people as saying, you are the captain of the aircraft and you have the wings that you want. So I've always encouraged people to go ahead and make their own, so they
Yes.
can see for themselves that, yes, your designs may be unusual, but they are perfectly aerodynamically thanking you for making them.
Isn't that amazing? Absolutely. I totally agree with you. That's wonderful. I love your lead edges and your trailing edges are
Yes.
quite deep. Is that a hoop pine or a plywood there?
Very, very simple plywood. Yes, I went through many hundreds of plywood pieces over the years, but this is the best example to be able to show when we used to do school shows as well.
Yes, and you made a number of boomerangs out of the coachwood that they used to make, the beautiful coachwood plywood, and we can't get that anymore. But you do know that Jeff Lurie still has about 9 to 12 of those sheets in Baruga, New South Wales there. Or no, where is he at? Aubrey? No, he's not in Aubrey. We're Arthur and Les Janetsky. He's just up the road from Jackie Byam, who's in Baruga. And why can't I think of where?
That's all right.
Yeah, but but he still has some sheets there, and I've always, shipping them back to America would be a shame and an extreme expense. But I would love to have some more coachwood. That was great plywood.
Yes, well, that was partly one of Frank's absolute pleasures. Was he used to make some beautiful coachwood marine ply boomerangs, and his artwork was. I would never be able to emulate his work.
Yeah. I have the list of everybody. Bluey Roberts. How do you compete painting a Australian scene? On a boomerang, and with Jeff Lurie and of course Arthur and Les Janetsky in Aubrey, New South Wales. The Rolls Royce of boomerangs, and they were just really amazing. The history and the people. Even Stephen Slady or Brother Brian Thomas and. Bob Burwell and Bunny Reed and of course Frank Donnellan and Joe Timbery and Bill Onus. How many boomerangs? Yeah, just fantastic.
Oh yeah, we in Australia overall have had a family growth of everyone interested in the boomerang and wanting to and enjoying a challenge or two along the way for your best efforts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Leanne Loveland was Lauren Hawes' daughter.
Yeah, Lauren
she's
Hawes.
Still, yeah, she's still she's still making the Stones Throw boomerangs and everybody's and of course Robbie Krall and. We go on and on with Roger Perry and everybody, but it's really great.
One lady you probably didn't meet, or maybe only heard her mention, my own second cousin lady, Sue. She was at the time Poppy's lady to be able to show the people that ladies can throw boomerangs as well.
Oh, wonderful. You know what? I always say that at my presentations. I said, girls can compete right along with the guys, and there's no handicap. You can do everything that we do, whether you're catching it one-handed behind the back, or you're doing a foot hacky, or you're throwing a maximum time a lock boomerang. They can do it all, and there's proof of that. And Betsy Miali Gix and Yoko from Japan, and so many great throwers. These women throwers that have been on U.S. teams, or other teams. Really great.
By chance, when you mentioned Japan, my wife is Japanese.
Oh, wonderful.
Over all the years we've been married, we still are, how you put it, we make an amusing set of challenges so that we can keep the humor alive.
Oh, that's great. Absolutely. Hey, you didn't come to the World Championships in '94 in Hiratsuka, Japan, or in 2006? Did you?
We got married. We got married in '93.
93. Okay.
Yeah, so that was our introduction to everything going on.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness.
Internationally though, with Japan, having the chance to go to Expo 70 was my main waking up in professional circles.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, then you know all the people I know, and we're all family. And my goodness, you and I got to talk for hours. I'm going to call you. You're never going to sleep again. It's going to be great. Isn't that right, Chris? Isn't that right, Kathy? Ask Sunil. He'll tell you. He said we can talk for hours and hours. It never ends.
Can you hear us, Johnson?
Hi there, Catherine.
Oh, good. Okay.
Hey, everyone. Hi.
Now we're right.
So Yolanda wants to know how long has the boomerang been around?
Thousands of years.
Yeah, let me give you an idea. I think the return boomerang certainly is at least a minimum of 15,000 years.
Yep.
But the actual hunting sticks and throw sticks go back, hundreds of thousands of years, because all of our ancestors were throwing sticks and stones. Africa, Asia, Europe. They found that mammoth tusk in 1947 in a cave in Krakow, Poland, and discovered it was a throw stick, and that was 24,000 years old. But trust me, if they could have survived the weather and being in the outback, the Aborigines, when they arrived, originally they thought 50 to 60,000 years. Now they're saying it's been 120 to 140,000 years, and the cave paintings are showing them coming in the northwest, and they have the throw sticks with them. And the topography was perfect all over Australia for a hunting stick. Then it would be like for a bow and arrow without having that technology. So they perfected it, and it evolved into a returning stick, which we could discuss and talk about starting fires and producing an airfoil by accident, and all that. But so without going into too deep, so yes, the return boomerang really truly is only from Australia. Jacques Thomas, back in the early 1990, put out the book Boomerangs of the Pharaohs, and he had gone to King Tut's Cairo Museum to inspect these wonderful throw sticks, or boomerangs as they say, that were in the tomb. And he went there with the observation, or with the idea that he was going to prove there was a returning boomerang. So he was allowed to inspect these. But when he photographed the airfoils and what was there, he two-dimensionally took the shape and then put it on the plywood and put the proper airfoils on. And Chet Snoffer and I got some from Ben Rue, and we were throwing and catching them on the field at one of the tournaments. And yet that shape we can make come back. But looking at the originals, which of course we could never throw, but looking at it professionally and looking at the airfoils, it was a hunting stick. It did not return. Therefore, I still say, the definition, a boomerang isn't a boomerang unless it boomerangs. And my logic here in America when I talk about it is that the return boomerang has to be differentiated, at least graduated from the hunting stick, the Kylie, the KYLIE, and the weapon that was used. And that's what brought down the game. And a return boomerang was used as a decoy. You could throw them in a flocks of birds, sidearm, and you might get dinner. But at mass times velocity equals momentum. So a return boomerang at 2 to 5 ounces or something, like I've said before, if I was flown in on a helicopter in the outback, and Brian and I were there, and he had 2 Kylies in his hand, so Swan Neck Beaknose Kylie and a Central Desert throw stick, and I had my competition bag, and they give us 5 gallons of water and said, okay, we'll see you guys in 5 days. You go that way, you go that way. Let's see. Well, Brian put on 10 pounds, and I'd be an anorexic by the time I got back. I couldn't catch a cold, and he'd be asking me how I want my kangaroo, medium. Well, how do you like your meat? Because he'd be high off the hog and catching lizards like the Aborigines did. Hunting sticks, we can definitely get dinner with. A return boomerang, that's why we have to differentiate, and it's very difficult in the world defining it as a weapon and a returner. Yeah, so a sporting instrument. So
Yeah.
I can understand many of the interpretations over the years have taken some scholarly turn points.
Yeah.
But, can you see on the screen again one of these boomerangs I'm holding now?
Oh yes, sir. I sure can.
Well, I'm just trying to give you the best angle.
Yeah, that's a mulga wood, and is that a lizard on there, a gecko, or
yes, lizard and gecko and so forth. But now the numbers I wrote on this, just for explanation, the 29 is the grams weight.
Gram weight.
750 is the dimension point to point.
750. Okay, wonderful. And here, I thought it was a price tag, and I was going to say sold.
I will happily confer later for price point.
Yes. Well, you know what? I'm known as the black hole of boomerangs. Not even light boomerangs can escape my grasp. And with 15,000 boomerangs, so I'm a little obsessed. Just a little.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I like it.
May I interrupt just for
Please.
a moment? And may I present Johnson? Oh, Johnson,
Do we lose him again?
back.
Come back. He is a boomerang. He'll be back.
Yeah. I know they're having difficulties with their comms as well
over
there, so I thought if we do it first, because he's going to present his new book.
Absolutely. And Kathy, I got to review the book and edit the book, and it's really wonderful. For this will really help get the word out in India, and they're doing a fabulous job. Sunil and Danny and Dinesh and Prasanna and stuff. It's just a wonderful thing. They're really getting the word out, and they're educating the public and promoting the sport. And it's just a wonderful thing to see. And with that many people, maybe he's popping back in here. And
come on, Joe. Johnson, are you right to go? Can you hear me?
Yes. Once sir is done. Yes, I can hear you now.
May I introduce Johnson, please? Johnson is Danny's brother, who we all know very well. They're a multi-purpose, brilliant family. And Johnson is another example of brilliance because he's just written a book. So over to you, Johnson.
All right. Thank you, first of all, Cath, for inviting me here. And thank you, Grizzly, for having me in the show, bro.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that I can also see Gary sir there. And I don't know the other person. Hi, nice to meet you too. So yes, before we get started, let me show you this book that I have right here in my hand. This book is called Conundrum of Paradox. Thank you again. So this one is called Conundrum of Paradox. This is the first part of the book, which is called Dark Paths to Nowhere. So this book is a fusion of science fiction, crime fiction, and horror fiction. So I call it hybrid fiction. I would say that to know more about this, you guys would definitely have to read this.
Nice.
Definitely.
Yeah,
it's great.
Do you have it out? Do you have it out now? I mean, is it out with a book code? We can order the book.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Please, can you repeat again?
I said, you have the books printed now, and we can get copies of them. We can buy the book.
Yes, you can definitely get copies on Amazon.
Oh, great.
You can get the copies on Amazon.
What is it about? Without giving anything away.
Yes.
What is the storyline?
Cath, can you please repeat again?
What's the storyline about? She's wanting to know.
All right. So the story is about a girl who disappeared from her college in very strange circumstances. And there are 3 crime agencies that are, searching for her. They are looking for her, but they were not able to find her anywhere. But under very strange circumstances, again, after 5 years, she was found in a different country. So when she returns
this is
back,
right up early.
Yeah. So she returns back to her country, which is of course India. And when she comes back, the agencies that were looking for her, they come to her and they ask her a few questions about like where she was and what all had happened in the past. But she does not remember anything. But
Okay.
then there's this officer. He was very smart and a very intelligent guy. He somehow, finds out a few strange facts. So the story is all about that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a good place
Thanks.
to put on our show because Grizzy and I and all of us tend to go to those odd places
Wow.
quite often where we can't
Yes.
understand
Daniel told
what's
me that you
happening.
guys were okay.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Thank you again.
Yeah,
Thank you
and
again, Cath.
and Johnson, you can send me the title on Facebook Messenger or something so I can order a book.
Oh, there it is under
Definitely,
Johnson's name.
definitely.
Oh, is
Sir.
it under there?
Yeah. Conundrum
great.
of Paradox.
Okay, got it.
Conundrum
All
of
right.
Paradox. But I'll share the link there.
We can add it to this later on.
Wonderful. Oh, that's great.
Excellent.
Thank you
Welcome
again.
anytime, Johnson.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
So at the moment where Bryony's showing us some of the big booms, we can't get the footage on Johnson. So we'll have to add the footage to make the booms later on.
Mm-hmm.
So we can share it.
One thing I'd like to comment on, with going back with Gary's conversation with me. Gary, have you ever seen a boomerang made for first finger and thumb holding only?
First finger and thumb. So by gripping with a notch. I have. Are you talking about ancient Aboriginal pieces, or are you referring to modern day?
In this case, it's modern rehabilitation.
Yeah.
I was going to offer an understanding that different people's rehabilitation program can include the simplicity of holding a boomerang between the thumb and first finger, and that becomes both a mental incentive and a physical success.
Yes.
You can get someone to throw a boomerang so un-Frank Donnellan-like.
Absolutely, to get the spin and the proper grip. When I teach people, there's the pinch grip where you're making a fist and pinching with the thumb, and then we call the pistol grip, where you're capturing it between either the first finger, second finger. Some people even throw with 3 fingers, right? Yeah. Depending on your grip, and it's what you're most comfortable with and what makes you feel good. But you're absolutely right about the ends of the boomerang being modified to support that, whether you're throwing a hunting stick or you're throwing a returning boomerang. Yeah. And
when I was in Canada, in Vancouver, I was at the Occupational Therapy Congress meeting, and it was surprising that internationally that some people had heard of boomerang throwing for sport, but not for the specific modified designs. And the idea of being able to modify a boomerang hasn't been lost on the professional medical people.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So did you bring some boomerangs to show?
Yes, I've got a few here at home. So I'm in my garage at home, and I've got probably about 1,000 different styles.
Wonderful. And are these all acacia, mulga, black wattle root, natural elbows, or mostly plywood?
Yes. Yeah, just about all these big ones are natural timbers. I've only got not saying commercially for bad word, commercial, but commercially, yes, I've still got many good tourist type, imaginative design and artwork. So I'm looking forward to letting people know more about how to get a boomerang if they want one.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Well, I think that you probably have a trunk filled with Janetsky's there and some Frank Donnellans and a bunch of Bob Burwells and some Bunny Reed witchy-proof boomerangs. And I'm sure you have a whole gamut of stuff that it's in your way, and you need it to go where it's going to be appreciated and loved. And I'm sorry, is the black hole speaking again? I'm so sorry. I just get so carried away.
In Japanese, we say "arigatou gozaimasu."
Oh yes, arigatou gozaimasu. Doi tachimashite.
Between you two would have one of the biggest stashes around, I'd say.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. If we take Brian and Robbie and myself, I think that takes care of about 70% of all the boomerangs on the face of the earth. I mean, oh gosh, I got to come visit you. I must, Brian. This is this is a calling.
You'll have to camp.
We will enjoy seeing you at your earliest convenience.
Oh, wonderful. I will get down there and we will have a blast. I promise you. By the way, the idea of sleeping is going to be, it's not going to be on your list for a while. I mean, you'll have, a couple weeks where you're like wide awake and, we're talking boomerang. If you ask Robbie Kroll, I mean, we were sitting there talking and falling asleep. We'd been up for 20 some hours. And then we literally were falling asleep talking in his living room. We passed out for about a half hour to an hour. And we woke up and went right to the market and started collecting boomerangs on a Sunday morning. It was just so much fun. And we had the best time. It was just
yes, well, the boomerangs are guilty. The boomerangs are guilty of having good fun.
They are, aren't they? I tell you, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I tell everybody, I love it so much. It's everything I am. I'm a scientist, artist, carpenter, athlete, entrepreneur, and inventor, and engineer, motivational speaker, and a teacher all rolled into one. And it's everything I am. And I found my bliss in life, and I'm engulfed in it. Big time. In an outrageous way.
Yeah, happy little Vegemite.
Yeah.
What's the wind going to be like there for the World Cup in Denver? Is it windy there?
No, it won't. I don't think it will be too bad, actually, because it's in July. Yes, it's going to be a higher elevation, so it's going to be equal to 2018 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we'll be approximately 5,700 feet above sea level. So I know this from Gunnison, Colorado in '89 at the U.S. National Boomerang Championships and throwing. When I design my fast catches and I tune them to go 20 meters at sea level here, where I'm only about 20 feet above sea level in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I'm throwing my boomerangs, if they're going, 20 and a half meters or 21 meters, if I take them and throw them right now in Boulder, Colorado, where we're going to be up near Denver, the boomerang will actually be going somewhere around 22 to 23 meters out. So I will make boomerangs that are going 18 meters here. And
some long distance.
Yeah, and then I'll put a little lead tape on them to make the boomerang. I'll adjust it when I get there a week before, and I'll train and practice, and I'll find that boomerang that's doing it right. But again, wind conditions can vary quite a bit, especially when you're in mountainous areas. But I've been to that field before, and hopefully, quite nicely, it was pretty good conditions. We didn't have anything outrageous, but you just never know. That's for sure.
Is it big enough for long distance?
Oh yeah, very big. Oh yeah, it's
so they'll have it this time.
300 by 400 meters. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to look at it on Google Maps. You'll see it's just fabulous. I mean, it's a huge field, and it's right in town. It's amazing. We've got shops and hotels and all the stuff around the outside. And this big, huge, massive field in the middle, and it's just wonderful. Yeah, the city of I think it's called Winchester is looking forward to having us there. It's going to be good.
Yeah. One more memory about Vancouver for Gary and I.
Yes.
When I was teaching the professionals to hop and throw it, one thing they didn't expect, I didn't expect. When you think of a paraplegic or person, the idea of balancing their body core weight and combining their best possible movement across there was one quadriplegic gentleman who helped me so much. It's incredible to understand I could be an example of cross body backwards throwing boomerang for a rehabilitation purpose.
Wonderful, really.
So
Absolutely
with
amazing.
the person,
Awesome.
with the person throwing the boomerang from their toes across their opposite shoulder, that is equal to any one of our own ordinary, upright, standing still throws.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
next
the motor
time you have a chance, sit on a chair, and my excuse me, my challenge of humor and seriousness is try throwing a boomerang backwards over your left or right shoulder, doesn't matter, and understand how you've got some muscles in reserve.
Wow, wonderful. You know what? I actually got to tell you that I actually juggle boomerangs backwards by snapping them backwards. I can juggle in the gyms with my boomerangs and backyard boomerangs, and yeah, I've done that alternating. I've even thrown left-handed and right-handed, and figure eights forwards and backwards. So that I know exactly what you're saying there. It's really interesting. In fact, I can even take a boomerang and flip it behind my back.
Yep.
And the boomerang has a right-handed counterclockwise rotation.
Yes.
But it actually goes clockwise like a left-handed boomerang and comes back. And so it's pretty interesting. Like an underhand boomerang or underarm boomerang, we call them.
That's
and
right.
So that is really, really neat. Yeah, I noticed that you can flip them backwards. You can snap them this way. I figured because if I can go right-handed this way, there's no harm in flipping it the other way and being able to snap it this way and have to go right around me, come back here.
Yep.
Yeah. I could demo one in here. I could, I don't know how.
That's why, overall, whenever possible, that's why I discuss the aerodynamics part of it as being very revealing as to a person's gained ability after throwing boomerangs from unusual angles.
Oh yeah. You learn quick, not too horizontal, unless it's a herd smash. But tell me, Brian, in when you give talks and you've talked to these aerospace engineers and people with Qantas and all these, tell me. First of all, most people kind of roll their eyes. I do demos for NASA, and I talk to aerospace engineers, and I have 150 Mensa people in a room, and I do this like 4 times a year. And I ask them. I said, "Hey, what are you working on?" And they say, "Well, I'm working on pod number 23 for the International Space Station and the electrical system." I said, "Wow, that's very admirable. That's really cool." And what are you working on? And what are you working on? And they said, and I said, "Well, I work on something that's more complex than all of that." And these guys roll their eyes. They did one of those. They do one of those things where they go, "Oh yeah, right, here we go."
Yes.
Yeah, who are you? And then you say, "Well, the first controlled flying device. The Aborigines of Australia discovered the most complex flying instrument in the face of the earth. No airplane, space shuttle, or helicopter can show the complexity." And I go on about it. And these guys, I challenge them. I said, I said, "So you're all Mensa level. You're all geniuses." I said, "I'll give my boomerang collection, all 15,000 boomerangs. The person that can answer me, why when I throw a boomerang this way with an arm swept forward would fly low at eye level, and when the arm swept back, it'll climb high and float
Yep.
down, and nobody can answer it. So the complexities of what are there. But what I want to know from you is, in the people that you've talked to, how do you describe how the return boomerang evolved? Do you do it from the hunting sticks? Of course, we're all, that was our religion, that was our life,
Yep.
having those hunting sticks and traveling seasonally to find food, and we had to do this. The Aborigines did that, right? And our ancestors, whether we came to Australia or came to America, we were all doing it thousands of years ago. So then, what, how do you describe to them at what point did the return boomerang? How did it possibly do what it was doing? Do you have a hypothesis or theory? What do you believe?
My regular support sentence used to always be, my teacher, Frank, he was a storyteller as well as a scientist.
Hey, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, Kathy. I just have to say that. That.
Yeah. So awesome. The idea of the science of the boomerang, it's been a modern day challenge of, you want to confuse your customer. Now, it sounds strange, but if the customer, the spectator, becomes a participant, they no longer just look at something on the surface value, but they look on the total body image value.
Yep. Yes.
The body image I'm talking about becomes, how big is the rudder that you've just carved out of the end of the boomerang? Or how big is the slice of elevator you've chosen for the opposite wing?
Yes.
And then you have high-speed wing, then you have the high lift airfoil. You could go on. I always treat it as, I go on and on about it when I'm challenged, because science is the mother of the boomerang.
Absolutely. Oh, so that's a great quote. That should be the title of a book.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really should. Yeah. And your first time you threw a boomerang, come on. Now, you were 10 years old somewhere at school or something. You were 7.5.
7.5.
And do you remember what boomerang you had?
It was one of Frank's original, very heavy black plastic boomerangs.
Yes, the vulcanized fiber, right? Or was it one of the injection
classes? It was the canvas bakelite base material, and then he had the science was helped by his friend Steve, but overall, the designs have been, that's it. That's terrific.
That's it right there.
That's the one which, when you consider the weight of the boomerang till today's design.
Oh, yeah.
It was circa 1945 plus through to about late 60s. Then Frank had done a lot of, how do you put it, alternate measurements.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, the black plastic one was the was the reality check. It was perfect. It was perfect for its weight and size.
Yes,
and
that's the one.
Yeah. Look at that.
I like the grip on this. It's got a really good grip.
Yeah, Kathy, I'm so sorry that you have all that junk lying around your place. We need to talk really soon, okay?
I don't have much junk. Like, I've only got about 5 of them. You need to move into Bryony's house.
Really? Oh, my goodness. You only have about 5 of your father's boomerangs?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I've got these 2. Then I've got a couple of, I've got one he made specifically for me, a wooden one.
Yeah, that's right.
I've got the original blank, and then just a few commercial ones. But I like this one the best.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, what happened to the mold that Frank had?
Oh,
Where did that go?
Unfortunately, a total truth. I'm not speaking out of any maliciousness whatsoever, but unfortunately, the history was totally lost just after Steve died, and his widow, she tried to convince at the time, the Sydney's Museum to take guardianship, you might say, of the mold.
Sure.
But unfortunately, there was not one action that helped the mold. It got separated, and no one knows where it went. It was an engineering tragedy.
Yeah, that's
all this equipment and everything. Just
that's you don't know what that does to me. I mean, I can't imagine. I probably have at least 50, Kathy, of your father's boomerangs, maybe upwards of 100 that I've collected throughout the years, and I've got them in the Bakelite, the vulcanized fiber, the whale bone as they call it.
Yes.
And I wanted to let you guys know that these boomerang throwers, that modern day boomerang throwers, what I mean is once we started the international competition and the Aussie Challenge and things from 81, by 85 there was some phenolic boomerangs, and of course Herb Smith started into it, and everybody says like, oh well, I missed the phenolic era of boomerangs, these Bakelites and canvas paper and linen epoxy resin, right? Like circuit board material. And I said, what are you guys talking about? I said, I have boomerangs from Frank Donnellan, from Len Onis, Bill Onis's Len Onis, Bill Onis, from Cecil Burwell. Bob Burwell's father in 1929 had that red whalebone. I know back then it was very expensive, but I want you to know that I have a number of these boomerangs in my collection, and I knew what a great material it was, and I know it wasn't a cheap material. So when they made these, there weren't that many, and they really flew well because of the specific gravity in relations to but what I want you to know is that the boomerang world says, oh well, phenolics, when did they come in? And people are saying, oh, late 1980s and 1990s and stuff like this, and I'm like, guys, no. Whalebone was at the turn of the century. I have an Aboriginal Western Australia pinch tip, not Queensland, but the pointed tip fat belly, or we call it a pot belly, and that thing is made completely out of white vulcanized fiber, the whalebone, and it's just so rare. And I know that it was collected in 1910. I know specifically, I bought it at an auction, and it was like so unique, and people thought it was made of real bone or something. I said, no, it's vulcanized fiber. But hey, just think about that these people, they were being made that long ago, and in the pre-plastic era. I mean, it was the beginning, the birth of high impact, IZOD impact ratio materials, and capitalizing on it. And Frank was one of the pioneers in that. So Kathy, your dad was he's an amazing man.
Yeah, he really was. He was so gentle, and like I can always visualize him sitting there with Kingsford Smith, la-di-da, like he was very calm, and thoughtful. He's always ticking over, like you say, the apple doesn't fall far, but he'd try anything, he'd sell pies. He did the Houdini thing, in the cage with all the chains and.
Oh, sure. Well, look at him. He was as tough as Houdini. I look at the pictures of him, and there's no way I would ever get in a boxing ring with him, a wrestling match. In fact, your father, I remember arm wrestling him once, and look at it. It's still not fixed. You know,
He
I remember
would never
that.
hope. He
I-
used to do this breathing exercise every day,
Yeah.
and that was his like. He smoked like a chimney,
Yeah.
Champion Ruby, but he still did this breathing exercise. That was his every day. He did this breathing exercise because he wanted to build his chest up to get his core strong, for throwing and that. And like you say, with the boomerang throwing, it seems to strengthen the core very well.
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah. Have you got a six-pack?
Oh yeah, mine is a 6-pack of yogurt now. Okay,
Mine's a jelly one.
I tell everybody I still got a 6-pack. It's just a 6-pack of yogurt. I'm like, yeah. I'm still at that. I'm at that fighting where I'm trying to get to my girlish figure, back. I'm just trying, but no.
Bit of side handles.
Yeah, the side handle. Hey, those we call those love handles here. Okay, now come on, let's say it like it is.
We got another lingo issue.
And one other comment about the boomerang's design. How many 4-arm boomerangs or 6-arm boomerangs have you managed to succeed with?
Well, really?
Yeah.
Do you want to know about the Mira on the Walla Walla, my collection? Do you know the Aborigines in Queensland? I have some of the really rare as hen's teeth, as Robbie Kroll will tell you, right?
Yes.
I have the Mira returners, and then I've made many hundreds of 4-bladed boomerangs, and from the cross sticks to actually making Spider-Man or some of my unique shapes that are actually 4-bladed boomerangs, and I can make them fly as good as they look. Because I understand anhedral, and by adding more mass to the center, it causes it to lay out quicker. And I could talk your ear off about it, and I know exactly what to do and how to do it, and you know how to do it, and I know how to do it. And we need to get all this information out to the rest of the world. For any boomerang maker, something's got to be done, because I don't think there's anything really written about that.
No, well, that's the point. And one of my purposes of both accepting this wonderful invitation for today was I want to make sure that the communication we have with our brotherly, sisterly throwers around the world, how many people actually didn't have a chance to see Frank when he was doing his shows. And
I would have loved
we want to try to give the boomerang more family atmosphere image as well.
Right. Yeah. In fact, tell me something, Kathy. Do you have any video? Is there any film of your father through the years?
I've got a couple, but they're very short. One of them was on the ABC. There's another one with Montreal, and there's one I've got. He's in at an oval. I think it's that Parramatta one, Bryony. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
Parramatta Oval. Yeah.
Well, tell me, Kathy, are those available on YouTube? What format are they in, or can we get them onto YouTube?
I'll look at that this week and see if I can get them together, because I've got one that's on a disc, like a CD disc.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, if you have it on a CD or some DVD, you could download that. Right on YouTube. Oh my gosh, you send that to me, put it on YouTube, tell me it's there, and I'll send it to all the boomerang throwers around the world. Everybody's going to freak out. They're going to go absolutely nuts. I don't care if it's 10 seconds. I don't care.
I'll try and get them all together, because I don't think copyright comes into it anymore.
No, the effect of copyright these days has just about disappeared.
Yeah, it really has.
But at the same time, those who deal in copyright have alternative suggestions of, like saying guardianship over some of the original material that hasn't been edited yet.
Yeah. So, my thing is with my stuff too is like I want what's best for boomerangs, and I always when I'm on the board, whatever, and when I do a TV program or I've done this or that, I throw a 4-foot colossal comeback and I catch it like Bunny Reed's Australian toothpick, you know, the massive boomerangs and things like that. You know, you look at that and you go, you know, that's such important history because, you know, when Bunny did that and showing the high torque ratio and that thing looks like it's in slow motion, it's coming all the way back. It doesn't show him catching it, but it shows that the thing comes back. And it's so important that we have those little pieces of Duncan McLennan and Jackie Byam and all these guys.
You mentioned Brother Brian Thomas a little while ago. I used to have a throw with him as well as with Frank and the rest of the crew every Sunday morning at the Parramatta Park.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, yeah. Oh, he was the greatest.
Unfortunately, I was the one who had to deliver the bad news that Frank had died on one Sunday morning.
I remember, yeah. It was terrible. I get to spend time with Brother Brian, I mean, all over the world, but I got to spend it in Sydney with him on Cromer there at the brother's house. And hey, he told me, I'll tell you guys a little secret. Grizz, you're going to love this. I think it's the Catholic Church in Sydney. He has been there and he has seen it.
Yes.
From the 1800s, you know, from Captain Cook all the way through.
Yep.
As everybody was converted and the Aborigines came, they gave gifts. And there is a church or a building on the property that is filled with ancient Aboriginal artifacts.
Yes.
And I'm talking about the best of the best. And so I went to St. Edward High School in Lakewood, Ohio, and I you know, and I'm one of 9 kids. So I was with Brother Brian. I'm like, okay, so brother, what are you telling me? How do we get into this? You know? Oh, Gary, there's no way you couldn't get in. I'm like, oh no. I'd love to hear you can't. I said, I have a feeling I can get in there. And I said, between Robbie, Crawl, and I, we're going to get into that building. Anyway, I don't know if you ever heard the story, but Brian, you might be able to tell me it's true that at least Catholic Church and let alone all the other ministry missionaries and things, all this stuff came in. And sure, lots of it has gone to museums around the world and stuff, but there's an awful lot of that ancient Aboriginal, absolutely priceless history. And it's been sitting for over 100 years underground. I mean, in a basement, you know, stored away. And they need to do something. I mean, I'd be happy to go through.
There's so much stuff that needs collating, and there's like in New South Wales, we've got all the old cups and trophies and that. They're all sitting in a shed. You know, there's hundreds of them. We need, because the young ones coming up through the ranks need to realise how important it all is. You know, for history and like protection and like I'd like to see some of that footage, you know, with the boom game. I would love to see that.
Oh yeah, the boomerang base game has been so, unfortunately, it's instead of being explained with, has been challenged with, and there wasn't enough information available over the last few years to encourage and invite those who know what boomerangs can do, but you've got to completely suspend your imagination. Now that sounds strange, I know, but if you take absolutely no prejudices with you and you start thinking about, imagine 6 people throwing boomerangs at one time and controlling it as a game.
These days, the throwers and the boomerangs, like I don't see any safety risks.
No,
you know, like we used to get, because that, you know, we got the heavy booms and that. But now with the modern day booms, that sport would take off.
Yeah,
like you know, and because of the controls, without, you know, getting whacked in the head or anything that, it won't matter, you know, because you can still run the bases and then throw it back to base, and you're not going to, you know, decapitate anyone.
Right. You're gonna have to give me the lowdown on this game, because this is we've done all sorts of, creative things through the years and developed the sport into what it is. But I know, Kathy, you had mentioned it before, and I'd heard about it, that there, and Brian, you can tell me that there is this, the way things used to be and how games were played.
Yeah.
And then, and then Kathy, you're supposed to say, well, I was 3 when I was playing, and I'm fine,
No, I wasn't old enough to play then. I was only
Oh,
little
God.
girl.
Yeah.
But Bryony knows, like you've seen it. It was basically like baseball. And you run the bases.
If you just turn your thinking off just for 5 minutes, imagine you're following every instruction that Poppy ever made about safety, and his imagery that he explained to you, the student, was that you use every part of your body to play this game, but you do not extend any ego.
Yes. Mind, body, spirit.
Yeah. And the few times we had a chance with all our groups that we had over the years, the idea of purposely teaching somebody to throw a plastic boomerang upside down and using both your finger grips and thumb grips and everything else,
Sure.
You were expected, as part of Poppy's group, you were expected to never take it for granted and only consider, what the saying is, don't take any no prisoners. No prisoners. Well, the game of the thrower from the central mound to the keepers of each of the plates, and the idea of the judge being able to work out who caught the boomerang first.
Oh, wow.
The mind boggles. I know what's in my head, and I've tried to write it out a few times to various people. It just means you've got to speak a different language.
Yeah, I was going to say, so a lot of that, the Aborigines ceremonially had that. Now, my question is, where did you receive this? Was this something that Frank, Kathy, did your father develop this, or was it, is it something that was learned or created through a Dreamtime experience?
I don't think so. As far as I know, Poppy set it up just so that we could have no discrimination.
That's right.
Not specifically for that setup.
Yep.
They were all mates, and they all used to play together. And he set that up, so it was like a Sunday game. Everybody could play around.
Yeah. We needed 12 people at the time. We needed 12 people to know that you're each going to have your turn, and you're borrowing your best guess of the weather.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And you add the weather to it like a recipe.
Oh, boy, yeah.
I remember seeing some of the photos, and that you could see Poppy was turning the whole thing around so that, specifically, like you say, for the weather, you could see the whole team just all of a sudden, move. So
shift from a wind change or something. Yeah, I see.
With the right conditions, because it looked to only be a fairly small circle. Like it didn't look to be a large throwing circle.
I think from memory, I think we measured it was 30 in those days, 30 yards from 30 yards diameter, which gave you room for 4 bases and a mound, and it was just trial and error until the group satisfy themselves. You work to the dimension that you best can put to it.
And this was done in an individual basis or a team basis? Was it
team basis? Team basis was the goal, but individual, you could have 2 people play boomerang base.
Sure. Sure, I see. Wow. Somebody popping in here too.
Johnson's back.
Oh,
I
good.
reckon that'd be good fun to especially, you know, with all the children coming up through the ranks.
Yeah.
I reckon it'd be fantastic for them. And by the way, what's the youngest age a person can compete in the World Cup?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Age is not a problem. Cameron was competing he's only, I think, 7 or 8 years old. He was competing. You guys remember Baby Ben? You remember Bunny Reed's grandson, who came to America and was throwing. He was 3 years old at the time, whipping wooden boomerangs. I mean, what an amazing thing back in 83, 84. Yeah. But I mean, really, it's something. The age it doesn't matter, really. I mean, these kids, really see it. You have to see it to believe it. They're really incredible throwers. Just like my kids, they all grew up with boomerangs and they were all throwing. And now I've got Logan, you know, the boomerang ninja. You know, so, yeah. So, so they're really, really, you know, really good. Plus, I do a lot of my motivational talks and I do a lot of the school presentations. And I do after school programs with the kids too. So I have my roomerangs and backyarders and vertibles. They all get to make them. They get to paint them. And they get to throw and catch. And so it's history and it's art and it's phys ed. You're the quarterback and the receiver, the pitcher and the catcher, you know, and you're and it's such an esteem builder. A kid throws a boomerang, it comes back and he actually catches it. You know, before that they were saying, "Oh, I could never do that." It's like, really? I can't wait. I've been waiting to meet you all my life. You know,
and, you know, the same for the old days as well, or, you know, vets or injured people or sad people. Yeah, because everyone can do it.
Right. If you're in a wheelchair, you can throw a boomerang.
That's right.
You know,
also,
you got this much motion, you get a boomerang to come right back.
I just thought of another example. I'm wearing glasses. Cath's wearing glasses.
Yeah.
Chris is wearing glasses. How many more you don't know?
Hey, now look at him. See that?
Yeah. That's
We're all the same team.
Okay, well now you are a walking science proof of the boomerang can be absolutely used as a mental stimulus. If you're wearing glasses, your eye focus comes through your optic nerve. You watch the boomerang turning and spinning and come back to you. Your eyes have been working overtime for that 30 seconds. But imagine a child with a visual image difficulty, and you can tell them, you'll see, if you use your imagination as a teacher to communicate to the child, have some fun seeing how fast you can make the boomerang spin, and you play a game with it.
Right.
Well, I used to wear bifocals. I used to wear contact lens. I had quite a few operations on my eyes over the years, and the savior of it was when I was with Frank, the first few times he taught me each weekend to throw some boomerangs, he was able to encourage me, don't care about what others think of you seeing the boomerang differently and you follow it differently than somebody else, because your eye muscles work according to your leftover metabolism. Whatever's there you got from birth is all you got, but you can have operations to suit along the way. But the first one was Frank taught me how to watch the boomerang fly.
Yep. Yeah, that's really, really great. It's funny how things that we think as boomerang throwers, and we were, you know, I'm known as boomerang man in Ohio, or Chet Snoffer, and these people, that we think the things that we developed We're like, hey, I got a great idea. This is what I found out when I taught people how to throw to get more spin on the boomerang. I told them to knock on the door. You know, I use these things, terminology and stuff. And I said, this is all stuff that is nothing new. It's just I didn't know Frank. I didn't get to meet Frank. I didn't get to meet Bill Onis. You know, and to know that those guys, they already been there, done that. You know, Cecil Burwell and Bunny Reed, they had all done it, you know, way before us. You know, and it's really impressive. I mean, I'm you know, you can see that, and the way you speak, Brian, about you know, it gives me a great visual of how much fun it was back then, because you're throwing mostly traditional boomerangs and you're throwing some pretty heavy, thick stuff. You know, natural elbows, you know, the mulgas and acacias and black water roots, or even, you know, the phenolic materials, the epoxy resins and stuff, the vulcanized fiber. I mean, that's some serious stuff. And then, you know, the spin rate of that and wow. I mean, I know because I've thrown them. I collect them, you know, and the thing,
my teacher at Qantas with the aerodynamics was the first person to come up with the high-speed, high-lift wings. But importantly, more than that, just that, we worked out how to mix the fiberglass resin to make the finishing product of the handheld part to balance the forward tip.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Do you have one of those?
I've still got them at home here.
Do you? Oh, you're going to have to show that to me at some point. Yeah, I got to see that. That's so cool.
With you and Bryony and Danny, I think the combined knowledge and the gifts that you three have with teaching and how the kids love you and all the different, like, it's so good to have you all. Like, and today we were going to show, Danny's got some footage. He was going to show us all how to make boomerangs, but we've had trouble uploading it, so we'll upload it later. But what Danny's doing all over the world, like, he's like a young poppy to me. Like, he's, you know, like a ever-ready bunny, you know, like amazing.
Never stops.
It's so talented. Whole family. Hi, Sean. You know, like writing, everything, cooking, everything. They're such a brilliant family, and to be able to represent the sport so beautifully, I admire everyone that's doing that.
Well, you know, I can tell you guys from experience of all the world championships that I've been to and all the boomerang throwers around the world that have come and stayed with me. And, you know, we had this talk before, and I said, it's an amazing family. It's this eclectic, yet all interconnected people that
it's beautiful.
come from different cultures, different languages, different countries, different professions. And we all come together on this one fascination with boomerang, the returning boomerang. Some of them are the Rusty Harding, the Jonas Ramblad, okay, the aerospace engineers that are crafting. And they may not win a tournament, but they can make a maximum time aloft boomerang out of unidirectional carbon fiber, bidirectional Kevlar micro balloons and epoxy with enough dihedral that when you throw it, it corkscrews hundreds of feet in the air, it turns over and drops like a maple seed, and the world record is 17 minutes, 6 seconds from time release to time of catch. It's like, what? And when now the distance boomerangs, I mean, you know, it was David Shumey there in Brisbane. He was making these distance boomerangs, and he made these question marks called the Voyagers. And what we did was he took right-handed airfoil on the top and put a left-handed airfoil on the bottom. Why? Trailing edge meets trailing edge, lead edge meets lead edge. So now the air molecules over the top are very little. There's right, so it becomes this powerful gyroscope. Now you've got the super elliptical distance, and then Manu Schultz is throwing 238 meters out, 238 meters back. And when I show people what 238 meters is, where, you know, here in America, 3 football fields almost, and they're like, nah, no human being could do that. No, you know, come on, that's crazy. Yeah, look at, and you have the craftsmen. I mean, not only the competition of being the wisdom of knowing what to throw in what condition, no matter what Mother Nature throws at you. It's a lot of wisdom of making the right boomerangs that can handle any condition. And we in Ohio are very good at that. Yeah. But the last thing is, a craftsmanship of steam bent laminated boomerangs like Al Gerhardt, or to look at Fred Malmberg and Steve Loki and all these people that we lap join exotic woods together and inlay them or steam bend them. And they're these beautiful pieces of art that are sanded to 12,000 grit. And I'll take my rings off, my boomerangs. I'll take my boomerangs off, and I'll throw it. I'll catch it, and I'll hang it on my wall because you don't want to throw it again. You don't want to scratch it. You don't want to just absolutely fabulous. But you see, you get to be that carpenter. You get to be the scientist. You get to be the artist. You can make a dolphin boomerang, Michael Jordan, Goofy, Donald Duck, Spider-Man, Roadrunner, you name it, right? So we can make those things work, and then you're the competitor, and you see how all these people come together, and we all contribute to this passion and this love, and I just so love it, and you can't imagine. I mean, it's way too much fun. I could never see my life without having the boomerang family and being able to travel all over the world like I have. Yeah. It's just amazing, and everybody's family. There's nobody hating anybody or like I'm upset that Brian beat me in accuracy. No, I'm slapping you a high five because I said, Brian, this. If we're in competition and we're throwing in certain wind condition, right, or some condition on the field, it's not me against you. It's you and I against Mother Nature. It's what she dishes out. And guess what? If you outsmart her and you drop eight bullseyes or something, you got 80 points just like that. I mean, I'm slapping you high five and bowing to you. I'm going, hey, because you beat Mother Nature, you beat it. I'm not upset. It's like, we're all doing what we love to do. And we're out there as a family and we're helping each other. And because we have enough, you guys have been there in those horrendous winds. Melbourne in 2000 at the World Championships. I mean, we had an average of 32 miles an hour gusting up to 60 miles an hour. I mean, you could throw a crowbar and it comes back. What's the big deal? Hey, Mom, look at the lawn chair. It's a boomerang. Comes back.
That's such one of the beauties I find in it. Like James Hoy, he makes all of his booms, all sorts of different ones. But he lives in a really super duper windy place. So all of his booms are built for wind, high wind. And then, because I've got a couple of them, but like, he's built the conditions into the boom, to share within all. I can't explain again, but
no, I know what you're saying because let me tell you, I grew up in Ohio, and the boomerang world revolved around Ohio. You got Chet Snoffer, Greg Snoffer, John Gorski, Mike Dixon, Gary Broadbent. I mean, our state alone could beat anybody else in the United States. We put a team together, and we'd be happy to take on the world. But I tell everybody, the more you put steel in the fire, the stronger it gets. I never had a day where I went, oh, it's too windy to throw today. I went out and I experienced it. And I had my bag of rubber bands, my drag devices. I had my binder clips. I had duct tape, and I made flaps. And I would experiment. And I knew that I had to have, because Cleveland, Ohio is the third windiest area in America.
Right.
And so I had to go out and practice in it, and I became really good at it. And the guys in Ohio said, when we go to tournaments and it's windy, other people would say, they're from California or Texas or somewhere, and they'd say, you guys are so lucky. You had lucky, wind conditions. You had Chet winds or something like this. And I say, let them keep thinking that. It's just, I got my wind stick in the ground and I know what I'm throwing and what I'm doing. And they think the wind calmed down for 20 seconds for me to make 5 throws and catches and fast catch at 20 meters in a 4-meter bullseye, where in actuality, that boomerang is designed to drop like a brick in that wind. And there's hardly any aerodynamics to it. I'm throwing it hard and over vertical. I call it a humpback throw, like throwing over a wall. And that thing is perpendicular with the wind as little as possible, and it's just dropping all the way through, and it comes right in. And you just do that 5 times from the bullseye, and they stop the stopwatch, and they go, wow, that's amazing.
Gary, Sorry for interrupting. It's like,
No.
when I'm dowsing in that, all the conditions have to be right, the same sort of thing. When you're throwing a boom, it's almost like visually seeing how you are at that moment in time, and how you're unified with our strings that I'm not allowed to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's like another way of seeing inside how you are on that day, like, because sometimes you can't get your head into it, so something's upsetting you or you're not grounded. To me,
It's the most
very
greatest
similar to
therapeutic thing.
dowsing.
You know what? When you throw a boomerang, it's an extension of you.
Yeah,
right.
It's you living.
Yeah.
It's you living. Look, the Aborigines, I see it. I know what they were doing. It's therapeutic. I used to say, you know what? It is so great. A boomerang, you don't have to go and compete in a competition. You go out and you play with yourself. You're dancing with the wind. You're dancing with the wind. It's you and Mother Nature. And guess what? When you're barefoot and you're grounded, right? We talked about electromagnetic fields, and it unifies you. And you think the Aborigines were idiots? You think you read about what they went through and what their life was and all this in the history? They're geniuses. They're greater than any of us could have ever been. I mean, they gave me the greatest gift in life. They gave me the boomerang. I pay homage to all of them. I bow to them. And I met Aborigines who looked at me and said, who are you, a Yank, to come down here and tell me, an Aborigine, what a boomerang is? And they were totally offended. I said, oh, no, wait. We got off on the wrong foot here. They had been so downtrodden and so beaten down, from a racist standpoint and stuff that I said, wait a minute, you don't understand. My entire world is boomerangs. I said, I wear boomerangs, boomerang watch. I have boomerangs around my neck. My phone number is 49 B-Rang. License plate on the car is boomerangs. And I go through this whole thing. I said, you understand that it's your ancestors, it's your culture that gave me the greatest gift in life. They gave me the boomerang. They gave me the most complex flying instrument in the world. And then finally the guy, they look at me and they go, all right, mate, I'll throw a boomerang now. I mean, these guys are 50 some years old and they've never seen a boomerang work. Then they're Aborigine.
I think a lot of what Poppy was saying, because his main aim was, I call it all for one for all. Yeah. And with, like, that's exactly what he was talking about, the unification without segregation and for all abilities, no matter the age, and all inclusive. And to me, that's what he meant with his unification.
Well, do you remember the George Bing?
George Bing.
The name?
I've heard his name.
Yeah. Well, George Bing was Poppy's Indigenous friend. And every Sunday, along with our group, he would come along and throw with our group. But George Bing lived in Parramatta Psychiatric Centre for most of his most of his 47 years, whatever it was. When Poppy died on the 16th of March, George died 2 weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because George had only Poppy to be his shadow.
Yeah.
So Poppy was the first to explain to most of us why we are adopting George, an Indigenous person, before the Indigenous was ever used as a word.
There was no segregation until Montreal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right, and that was in 1960?
67, I think.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. 68, yeah.
And that's kind of why I got a little upset with that other business about the returning booms. Because one of the sentences was almost exact to the letter as what was said back then, which caused all of the segregation that followed. That was one of the main reasons, besides them, saying the wrong thing about what the booms were returning boomerangs, and calling them the other thing.
Yeah.
But like, because it was crushing, you know. Before that, everyone played together. There was no drama, you know.
That's right.
But after that, I got picked on severely at school. Like, it segregated the schools instantly. You could see it through history where not just that, whatever else was going on back in the time must have been linked to it.
Yeah.
But you could see it throughout history after that. You could see the segregation occur with so many different things. It was really sad.
Yep.
Like, it broke Poppy's heart because we're all friends. Everyone's one. You know, everyone's united as one. And then this business came up and it kind of wrecked everything for a long time here. But in a good way, as far as the boomerang throwing fraternity grew internationally, it was a plus, you know.
Right.
But not on our end.
Yeah, well, even my father, like he helped a lot over the years, driving us kids around, doing all the different boomerang throwing shows and things. But Dad, my father, was the only person who was allowed to view George's body at the time for the police to say, yes, this is George Bing. And he was signed, my father signed him out as friend of George Bing.
Yeah.
Wow. And what was your father's name? Your father's full name?
Charles William Henry Chattel.
Charles William Henry Chattel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Charles
Very nice.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to look this guy up. This is wonderful. I'm I'm impressed. This is really fun.
Well,
Brian,
ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say it, but we ran out of time. It's been a wonderful show, like
now,
always.
Grizz, you need seriously. I'm thinking maybe, I don't know. There's got to be a Concertol or something to calm you down, because I don't know. There's something you just, don't you notice it, Kathy? I mean, gosh, he starts talking and he just won't ever shut up. I'm amazed. I mean,
I'm just fascinated. I'm just fascinated. It's just wonderful,
Isn't it great? No, it's too much fun. I appreciate you, Grizz, and giving us this platform.
It's been great. It's lovely having both you on the show once again. It's been a pleasure. It really has been.
Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah,
and we'll add the footage later on, Grizzy, somehow, and put
the we sure will.
Okay.
Yeah, and Kathy, Brian, you're on Facebook and things like that.
I'm on email.
On email, I knew it. See, he's like Jeff Lurie. I know. I'm going to have to call you up. That's what I'm going to have to do. Kathy, you have his info. You can get it to me.
No problem.
Yeah, and we have it here. So, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll look forward to talking to you again, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and coast to coast and around the world. That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. We'll catch you on the next show. Bye.
Hey, remember, do what you do in the world will come back to you just like a boomerang. Live to boom and boom to live. It's all about finding your bliss.
The naughty boy.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
We'll see you.